debt of 58 million yet to be paid to the WAEC, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Now let's settle with the conversation. In results release, we witness some quite outstanding malpractices which are still featured again, dominating in the WASI examination. What features is WAEC taking to prevent this in reoccurrent examination?
Well, when it comes to examination of practices, it's quite a Herculean task because the council alone is unable to fight this. There are a lot of cartels in the system who are, perpetrating that act. So what we have tried to put in place has been to increase our monitoring of all the examination centers. Unfortunately, we're unable to reach every single part of the country, and so that explains the reason we still have a number of these malpractice cases coming up.
And could you also elaborate on the investigative process that goes on before? For instance, you had about 319 schools being part of these malpractices. How is the investigation process going for these malpractice acts that we witnessed in the WAEC results?
Well, so what happens is that for these people whose results were withheld, we received complaints from the examiners who were marking the scripts that they detected some collusion in the papers. So then we are going to have our subject officers scrutinize the scripts, okay, provide reports, and then the relevant committees of the council would sit down and look at the merits of those allegations, and if they merit any sanctions, we'll bring them. Otherwise, then we just go ahead to release the results.
Mr. Kapi, another conversation is the possession of phones day in, day out during examinations. And it looks like every time we talk about this conversation, the more it also brews up in examination malpractice. But given the possessions of phones, for instance, it has become a very serious offense. How is WAEC planning to strengthen surveillance and also reduce such violations in the future? Is it any mechanism that WAEC probably may be looking at or should look at, just so we cannot also be having these malpractices and cancellation of students? And it then asks, what is the duty of WAEC in terms of preventing or surveillance to reduce such actions from happening? If you can answer that for me.
Well, what we are doing right now, when it comes to examinations, we work with the Ghana Education Service. The teachers who are actively teaching are the ones who do the invigilation for us. And there are a number of steps that are supposed to take. For example, search the candidates thoroughly before they go in. Our suspicion is that this search is not properly done, or that maybe the teachers choose to look the other way when these things are happening. So going forward, the most appropriate thing that we'll be able to do would be simply to have independently engaged invigilators that you can fire any time that they misconduct themselves. That, for me, is one of the key ways by which we can curb this, menace of examination malpractice.
And on that note, I would want to ask you, how does WAEC also ensure fairness in cancelling of results? Because if you're cancelling a student results, I believe there are certain things to look at. And just as you said, I indicated about 319 or so have their results cancelled. How does this how is this done? Let me just ask that question. How do you determine that this student's result would have to be withheld, this candidate engaged in malpractice, and even as a body, how do you ensure that these are done?
For those whose results have been cancelled, we refer to them as routine cases. Now, these are cases that were detected in the course of the examination, where the candidates were found to have done one thing or another that was against the rules of the examination. Now, there and then they are made to write statements, and if in their statements they admit the offense, they will go ahead and apply the relevant rules. So for those who have been cancelled, the candidates themselves have been confronted with the offense, they have admitted to the offense, and that's the reason those results have been cancelled. Now, those that have been withheld, as I said earlier, would have to do some scrutiny, and then we also give the candidates an opportunity to speak and answer questions as to whether indeed they accept their guilt, that is, whatever allegation has been brought against them. On that basis, we decide whether we have to cancel. There are some also that when you start with the scrutiny, you realize that there's really no merit in the allegation, so immediately you go ahead and release their results to them.
And so if that be the case, it means that all these candidates who have their results being withheld were found in the act.
Yes, so those whose results have been cancelled, they were found in the act. But those that have been withheld are the ones that the examiners have reported to us. And that is what we are going to scrutinize and then give them a hearing before we go ahead and take any decision.
Mr. Kapi, again, another conversation we want to engage you on is about the conversation about performance in this year's examination as compared to previous years. How would you assess? There have been some serious reduction or decrease in terms of performance, for instance, in mathematics, which quite saw an improvement, not so much, but again, for subjects like integrated science and social studies, I beg your pardon, English language, we saw some, decrease over there. What do you think is accounting for all of this?
That is quite difficult to tell. Usually, we would depend on the chief examiner's report to be able to make any statements about the performance of the candidates, the reason for which there's a drop in the performance in some of the subjects. I believe that we would have to wait until we get the chief examiner's report, and then we can tell the reason for which there has been a drop in the performance of some of the candidates in some of the subjects, and then an improvement in, let's say, mathematics in the course of the examination.
Again, what is WAEC doing about these situations? Even though I know this is beyond you, but just so our students are aware, in fact, parents who may be concerned, because mathematics, as I said, it has seen an appreciable increase over there. But for English language, which most people would assume that it could be an easy pass, is seeing some, decline in terms of performance over them. Integrated science, which is core, or these are core subjects. Every day we do witness this. What are the measures that we probably or could suggest to the education body so these, issues about, non-performance in these subjects are resolved?
So when we look at the reports from the chief examiner, the report indicates what the strengths are and what the weaknesses of the candidates are. So on that basis, we're able to advise what remedial measures can be put in place in order that the candidates' performance will improve going forward. So again, we would have to wait until we get the chief examiner's report, and then we would know what we can document and then circulate to the schools to enable the teachers assist the candidates with some kind of remedial measures so that we have, a better performance going forward.
And so it means that WAEC is planning on helping or planning to take some actions to also help students to be able to pass these subjects.
Absolutely. Every year we do. Once we go to the chief examiner's report, we bring it out for everyone to know what caused maybe a drop in the performance of the candidates in a particular subject.
Mr. John Kapi, away from the conversation about WASSCE, another conversation that this week popped up was the Education Ministry warning WAEC to be quite circumspect with bringing figures. Well, we try to engage the ministry for conversations on that. It says that, remember that some 25 million Ghana cedis was paid to, WAEC, which you even said that you have not received such fund. But how do you respond to that after the minister's rebuttal?
I believe that any public affairs or public relations officer worth his salt will always speak when he has confirmed all the information. The information I put out there was that we had picked up a check on the 18th of December for 25 million cedis. After that particular day, there was no other payment until Christmas Day, when another check for 35 million cedis was issued. So really, I wonder where this is coming from about me not verifying my facts. I would only speak when my head of office and the other officers involved would tell me what exactly.
You have just 1 minute remaining.
Well, we're sorry we have lost John Kapi on phone. He is the public relations officer for WAEC. We'll try and establish contact with him. He was just answering a question I posed to him in relation to the Minister of Education, Dr. Yaw Osei-Duchum, telling him to verify his fact before coming out to deceive the public in relation with some 25 million Ghana cedis that the ministry earlier paid to WAEC, and he was trying to clarify that. Unfortunately, we have lost him, but we'll try and establish contact again. But just so I go back again to the WAEC conversation, so we can put the display on your screens, the release by the WAEC and some of the results. You can see on your screens the performances. Students that had between A1 to C6. Again, candidates that had from D7 all down to F9. That's what you see on the screen. So just as I engaged John Kapi earlier on, for English, 317,701 had A1 to C6. Then again, grade D7, which saw about 39,542. Again, in terms of getting grade E8, it witnessed 25,294, and F9, which saw 26,872 for English language alone. Then we move straight to mathematics. We saw 305,132. 305,132. Again, for grade D7 in mathematics, 27,656. 24,656. For students that had E8 in mathematics, we saw 21,397. 21,397. For F9, we saw 27,816. Now let's move straight to integrated science. Now look at the comparison between the 2024 results and the 2023. For instance, in mathematics, English language, which we saw 317,701. In 2023, we saw an appreciable number of 54,000 and 8 over them. Again, in terms of mathematics, we saw 305, 132. Look at the report of 2023. It was about 54.11% over them. My producer tells me that we have John Kapi back on. All right. Let's have a conversation on the back of more educational matters. But away from that, the School Feeding Caterers Association intensified their protest yesterday, picketing the Ministry of Gender over delays in payment for 2 terms after demonstration. The association's leader met the officials from the Controller and Accountants General Department, and they were assured that some payment would be processed by the close of today. And the association, however, insists it will continue to monitor the situation until the promised funds are received. And we have been joined on phone by Patrick Appiah Dankwa. He's the Deputy Director of IFEST. Mr. Dankwa, good morning.
Good morning to you and your listeners.
We appreciate your time. First of all, let me ask you, so yesterday, let me pick your thought on this. WAEC finally released the result for the 2024 WASSCE, and from where you said, there have already been calls to our educational system, looking at some of the numbers and performance in certain subjects. How would you assess the results in general?
Generally, when the results do come up, whether students pass very well or it goes the other way, is due to a lot of factors that may be considered. And some of these factors that may be considered can go as far as to the economy. What I mean by that is that when there are certain factors that do not go well in favor of how say, the parents are able to manage their finances, it can affect the children. If the government is not able to manage the economy well, it could also affect the children. The interesting thing is that it could affect them in the way that, let's say, suppliers of food are paid, the way teachers are paid, and the way students are nourished. So, interestingly, when exams do not go off, it could be a multiplicity of factors. So, usually when it happens, that we will take our time and do some research into it before we come up with some valid answers that can be relied on.
But for instance, given the drop in pass in subjects like English language and integrated science, one would wonder what do you think is accounting for the the drop in this subject? What actually is the root cause of these declines, and perhaps can there be some conversations had to address these issues in future conversations?
Yes, usually after an exam is written, you get the chief examiner's report, and the chief examiner's report will give you a good, more vivid idea of how the students went about the answering of questions. Every year they come up with a set of questions to elicit certain responses from the children. So usually you get a chief examiner's report, which tells you the questions that were asked, the areas that were asked, and how the students went about it. So if we should receive that, that's when we'll be able to make that, we'll be able to come up with a conclusion that can be relied on for further studies. So I think we'll wait on that before making a decision. But I believe, I think last 2 years, they did, the performance was similar. It was last year that there was some outperformance. I mean, they did quite well last year. And this year, I think it has dropped to the same levels of 2 years ago. So we'll have to wait on the chief examiner's report so that we use that to make our analysis.
Again, now let's go to the conversation about the school feeding issue. So you have also been in the past suggested that government also introduced some cost sharing measure on the free SHS. Could that be an antidote to these challenges that we're witnessing? Because yesterday the ministry said it is making plans to pay all these debts owed by the people involved over there. But as you suggested earlier in the past, that there should be some cost sharing. What is the antidote for these challenges that we're witnessing day in, day out?
Okay, there is this aspect of education where we've been talking about lifelong learning. We should also have a lifelong management of the free SHS. And we should be able to do some policy analysis as soon as possible to see how we move it. Now, you realize that the free SHS has been managed poorly, and though access has increased, quality of education has really dropped to an all-time low in the country. So we believe that we need to review the free SHS immediately, because when you look at all the aspects of cost and all the areas of cost, government tried as much as possible to centralize government expenditure, and we have been talking about some significant decentralization so that costs can be managed well, and hopefully draw in all the stakeholders, including parents, so that they can also make some meaningful contribution. So we believe, if you look at what happened with the WASSCE results that was delayed unduly because of government's delayed payment, and if you look at the government's inability to throw in money for the sustenance and maintenance of the aspects of free SHS, we need to have a comprehensive review as soon as possible so that it will give a guide or working document to the incoming government, and we can have probably a better way of managing our free senior high school students, hopefully from next year.
Mr. Danko, now, given the promise by the Controller and Accountants, department yesterday that they promised these people, how can civil society organizations also be held responsible and accountable? Because these people have been working and day in, day out, they get the assurance, but you ask them and it looks like their due is not given to them. So how can we hold them accountable beyond the rhetorics that we hear from them?
It's the whole process and how it starts. you know, the first question you ask yourself is that those doing the school feeding program, what did they go through? You know, that's how the whole thing starts. Everything is shrouded under secrecy, so now accountability becomes quite difficult. You don't know who you're speaking to, you don't know who you're speaking for. So if there's clarity in everything from how we get those who do the school feeding, is it in a way that it's an open bid for anyone to come in, and what are the terms of contract that we put across, and what's the government's plan in sustaining them? I know when people come out to picket, to demonstrate, a lot of the times that's the only time the government listens to them. And they would want to do that so that governments wanting to send them home will give them promises. I hope you understand. So we need to have clarity when it comes to education, educational spending, and the likes. And I think once all these things are laid bare, it becomes easier for accountability, and it becomes easier for anybody to work with government. So government should do things properly. Government should do things with clarity so that, I mean, the average Ghanaian can support all these good works that we hope that they do for us.
Some have argued and have said that, you know, this called for a broader systemic, approach. For instance, budgeting and procurement of, processes need to also be addressed to prevent future delays in the execution of educational support. But would you also agree with this suggestion?
Yes. You know, all that you said on paper is supposed to be done. But what actually happens is that whenever any government's in power, they do things for, their own people. And as I told you, if coming or applying to join the school feeding program, it's shrouded in secrecy and it's just given to party faithfuls, So it is assumed that they understand themselves and they know what they are doing. So there's no clarity. There's no clarity for them to even receive some empathy from us. I hope you understand. So as I said, all these things are done, all the budgeting are done and everything. But if the government doesn't do it with certain clarity, is not open through open tenders and bids and all that, I mean, nobody would be able to tag along with the government for this good purpose. So we are hoping that when it comes to the areas of education, especially in budgeting and finance, the government will try as much as possible, and everything that is supposed to be given to education will be given to us. You look at all the monies through GET Fund, a significant amount of that money goes to servicing our loans rather than going to meet the needs of the students for which that fund was put together. So these are some of the things that the government have to work on. I think right now we have less than 40% of GET Fund going to help students and students' educational purpose, and that's really, really bad. So we are hoping that hopefully the next government that comes from next year would release more funds in the GET Fund for education purposes only, so that we don't have all these issues about teachers going on strike, lecturers going on strike, food vendors going on strike and all that. So they should actually allocate that significant amount of GET Fund, which is supposed to be for education and educational matters. And I think that would go a long way to helping solve all these budgetary problems in our education system.
Time this morning, but is there any final words you would want to give before we end the conversation?
Yes, what I would say is that government should try as much as possible to take politics out of education, and you can't run anything without politics. Definitely, it's political. It's political issues or policies that make things better along the way. But as much as possible, they should take that individual interest out and look at education as the vein for development and allow the processes to work. And hopefully with immediate effect, we will review the free SHS so that there could be more transparency and parents can support so that we have a better, educational system going forward. Yeah.
Mr. Danquah, we're grateful once again for your time. We're hoping to engage you more on subsequent conversation. It has been a pleasure having you this morning. Patrick Apia Dankwa is the Deputy Director of IFEST, and earlier we tried to once again call John Kapi. Unfortunately, the line dropped when we were trying to get some clarification between what the Minister for Education earlier said that he should, or the WAEC, PRO should verify information before turning out falsehood to the public. He was just about clarifying those conversations and the line drop. But we'll engage in more in subsequent conversation. But that's all for Front Story this morning. You can also call us on 053-916-1609. We'll be opening the phone line soon, so you can also share your thoughts and opinions. We'd appreciate it. So call us on 053-916-1609. I repeat for the last time, 053-916-61609. Call us. Let's know what you think. We'll be back with some sport and health. Do stay. You're welcome again to the program. Still watching ABC in the morning, and it's time to do some sports. Now, Ghana international Tariq Lamptey delivered a moment of brilliance on Monday night to help Britain on the Hove Albion. Brighton Hove Albion secure a 2-2 draw against Aston Villa in the pulsating Week 19 English Premier League clash at Villa Park. Now, the Black Stars young star, known for his versatility and attacking flair, started the game and played a crucial role throughout the 90 minutes. The match began with Brighton taking an early lead in the 12th minute through Simeon Adingram, who capitalized on a lost ball inside the box to slot home. Now, Aston Villa fought back and equalized in the 37th minute when Ollie Watkins converted a penalty kick. Now, 2 minutes into the second half, Morgan Rogers scored with a beautiful finish to give Aston Villa a 2-1 lead. Now, the game also looked destined for a Brighton victory until the 82nd minute when Tariq Lamptey stepped up with a sensational finish, ensuring Brighton left Villa Park with a point. Now, with this goal, Lamptey now boasts 2 goals and 1 assist in 7 Premier League appearances this season. Still on the Premier League, Ipswich Town has achieved a stunning victory over Chelsea, securing their first home Premier League win since 2002. The match, which took place on December 30, 2024 at the Portman Road, ended in a 2-0 win for Ipswich. Now, Liam Delep scored the first goal in the 12th minute with a penalty, and Omari Hutchinson scored the second goal in the 53rd minute. Now, this win marks Ipswich's first home Premier League victory in almost 23 years, with their last win being a 1-0 victory over Middlesbrough in the April 2002. The loss has dealt a blow to Chelsea's little hopes, leaving them in 4th place and 10 points behind Liverpool. And in more sports news, Newcastle United secured a 2-0 win over Manchester United at Old Trafford with Alexander Isak and Joelinton scoring in the first 19 minutes. This victory extended Manchester United wellness run and marked Newcastle's 4th consecutive win in the Premier League. Isak scored his 12th goal of the season, heading in Lewis home and cross from close range. Just 4 minutes into the game, Joelinton doubled the lead, raising about in Sandro Martinez to head in Anthony Gordon's cross, marking it 2-0 in the midfield trio of Sandro Tonali. Now, Bruno Gomares and Joelinton outplayed Manchester United midfield, allowing Newcastle to control the game. Manchester United poor performance has left them in 14th place with just 22 points from 19 games and has increased the pressure on manager Ruben Amorim. Manchester will bounce back, I believe so. But that's how we wrap up on sports segment here on ABC in the morning. For more sports updates, please do want to log on to our website at www.abcnewsgh.com. Again, we're back with some health updates. Do stay. Yes, and it's time to do some health update. Welcome again to another edition of the health segment. And today, as you all know, we will be focusing on detoxing after the festive season. It is very much important that we know about this. And so today on our health segment, we will be tackling or taking a look at detoxing after the festive season. Now, as you know, this season is a time to, indulge, with meals and festive treats, and also perhaps a little too much to drink. So as the celebration winds down and the new year also begins, many people feel the need to rest and reset their bodies. But how can you also achieve and also safely do this effectively? So that's what we're discussing. I would ask, what is detoxing? So first, let's break it down, okay? What we mean by detoxing, well, the body naturally also detoxifies itself through the liver and kidney and other systems. Detoxing after the holidays typically refers to giving your digestive system a little break and rebalancing your overall health after an overindulgence. For instance, those of you who have gone out to have some fun, party here and there, nightclubs, well, I'm not saying that's bad, but you have enjoyed yourself. You have a whole long process to go through just to rebuild yourself back to next year. For instance, if you are a 95 person or 59 person, it means that you have to bounce back in good shape or proper shape, in the next year. So what steps can you take to be able to achieve this we're talking about? First, you have to hydrate, and hydrate again. I repeat again, hydrate, hydrate. Now, one of the most important things you can do after the holiday is to drink plenty of water. How many of us, how many times do we often drink water? I think it's a conversation we all need to have. Water is essential for us. So dehydration helps flush out toxins and aids digestion and promotes skin health. It makes your skin look very beautiful, so you have to consider that very much. Also here, have to eat a whole nutrient-dense food. Okay, eat a very good food. So after holidays, your body may be craving for nutrients like vitamins and minerals and fiber. So you have to focus more on whole foods such as fruit and vegetables, and also lean on proteins and whole grains. Now these will help you replenish your energy and also improve your digestion and stabilize your blood sugar level. Again, it will also make your body look so fresh and you look very much revitalized. Again, you have to avoid processed foods and sugar. Now, it's perfect time to also reduce your intake of processed foods and excess sugar. This period, a lot of drinking have gone on. A lot of candies, a lot of sweet stuff have been put into our system. But these can also cause inflammation, and spike blood sugar levels and leave you feeling quite sluggish. So cutting back on sweet and opting for more natural sources of sweetness like fruit can also make a big difference. So that's how you have to detox, or perhaps a step you have to follow. Again, get moving. You don't have to be at one place. Get moving, exercise, do something, skip, indulge in some yoga, classes or something. Now, it's also a natural way to help your body detox physically, also involving yourself in activity to boost your circulation and support your lymphatic system and promote better digestion. You don't also have to hit the gym if you really feel you have to do some intense workout. Simple activities like walking, enrolling into a yoga class, or perhaps stretching can also get your body moving and help ease the post-holiday bloat. Okay, so that's you have to consider. Again, you have to rest and rebalance. Fortunately or unfortunately, most of us have just 2 days in between just to resume to work. Okay, so I'm asking myself, how are you resting after this long festive celebration and partying? Well, one of the most overlooked aspects of detoxing is giving your body the rest it needs. So sleep is essential for recovery, mood regulation, and overall well-being. It also would aim, we all have to aim for about 7 to 9 hours of restful sleep to allow our body to regenerate and reset circulation. And I ask myself, how many of us even have enough time or much time or amount of time to even sleep? Now, a balanced approach to post-holiday detoxing, it really helps. Now, detoxing after the holiday is not about pushing your body or trying extreme measures. Instead, you have to focus on gentle and healthy habits that support your body's natural process. So drink more water, eat whole fruit, get moving, and prioritize rest. By taking the balanced approach, you will feel revitalized and ready to start the new year with fresh and energized mindset. Well, that's all for health segment here today on ABC in the Morning. We are back with Ghana Speaks and other conversations again. Before we bring you Ghana Speaks, please jot this number down. We'll be calling so we know how your festive season is going. Perhaps today's 31st. We want to, hit much on that particular conversation. A lot of people would say, I'll go to church, but I will still be doing my normal things. In fact, people even go to church this evening and come back with the same attitude. But 31st is happening today. Other conversations we'll have, but call us on 053 916 1609 053 916 1609. Please call us. Let's know what you think. We're back with Ghana Speaks. Do stay.
General elections, there have been conversations around having a presidential debate. Will it happen or not? This is Ghana Speak.
Times are hard in Ghana, extremely hard.
As we gear towards the 2024 general elections, there have been conversations around having a presidential debate. Will it we gear towards the 2024 general elections, there have been conversations around having a presidential debate. Will it happen or not? This is Ghana Speak.
Once again to the program, we're back with the conversation where we allow you call in and let us know what you think about various topics that we have discussed. But today on Ghana Speaks, we are looking at where you will be celebrating your 31st night in church or in the pub. Well, I have my plans. Of course, I'm going to church, but I don't know about you. So please call us on 053-916-1609, 053-916-1609. Yesterday, we spoke to the head pastor of the Executive Community Church, and he said a lot of prophecies will be, happening this 31st night. But however, we should be wary of false prophets and false prophecy, because this is the period where these prophets try to capitalize on sensationalism just to let people hear about them and also get some crowd. But you watching me, let me know what you think about what he said yesterday, just in case you followed that conversation. It was quite a conversation I did enjoy, but unfortunately we didn't get so much call because of the hijack over there. I believe you have an active caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and where are you calling us from, sir?
My name is Simon. I'm calling from Takrady.
Your name is Simon?
Yeah.
So will you be going to church this evening, 31st, or perhaps you have some plans this evening?
Yeah.
So which one? Is it church or pub? Which one?
Oh, Methodist.
Oh, but generally, how has your festive season been?
You say?
I'm asking, how have you celebrated your festive season so far?
Yeah. Small.
Comparing the celebration 2024 as at Multicore 2023, which one do you think worked quite better for you?
You take it like that.
No, I was asking, comparing 2024, this celebration.
Okay.
As compared to.
This year is very good.
All right. Thanks for calling. He said he'll be going to church tonight. Well, that's a good thing, but we hope that it's not just about going to church. You also have to emulate what you are being taught in church. We have another active caller. Hello there. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So I want to find out from you, are you going to church this evening? Because, yes, it's 31st. And perhaps, are you... Yeah, go on.
Yes, of course, 100%.
And is this going to be your first time stepping in church because it's 31st? Okay. Or you usually attend church?
Well.
Hello?
Hello, it's a yearly ritual. I would have to go.
Again, let me find out from you, how have you celebrated the festive season so far? And if you have to compare between 2023 and 2024, how has the celebration between these two been for you?
This year has been better. It has been more improved. Things have been so good in my family and myself. We've really had a good year.
And any gift so far?
Pardon?
Received any gift so far, have you?
Yeah, a lot of gifts from family, from friends.
That's a good thing. Anyways, thanks for calling.
Thank you, too.
You can also call us on 053-916-1609. We've had two callers and they say, well, they will be going to church. As I was saying, it's not just about going to church. You have to, do what the word preaches. So if you're going to church, go to church and also pick out something. It's going to be a massive congregation. I mean, for those of us who will be going to church, I'm so particular about going early so I can have my seat prepared for myself, not when the place is clustered where. And you know, when it gets to the climax of the celebration, the 31st period, especially around 11, 12, that's when you see a lot of people trooping, you know, just to, you know, create some noise here and there with their firecrackers and the knockouts. And it's all beautiful, just to usher us into the new year. And so it's all beautiful seasonal experience. But as I said earlier, it shouldn't always be about going to sit in church or listen to what the man of God or the men of God. A lot of you also would have a lot of resolutions. I mean, it's very interesting how we always tell ourselves that New Year, this is what I've set for myself. This is my New Year resolution. This is what I'm planning for. But within, I mean, a short quarter of the year, we go back, we bounce back to our normal selves and we forget about the resolutions that we've made for ourselves. And so it's a very interesting thing, but I'm hoping that God gives us the grace to be able to sustain our, ourselves. But please call us again on 053 916 1609, 053 916 1609. Again, 053 916 1609. Call us, let's know whether you'll be going to church this evening to celebrate with God and also be thankful from January to December how far He's brought you, or perhaps you've always been praying, you can't be bothered about even ushering yourself into the next year. It's a ritual thing you do, and so perhaps you'll be going to the pub. But we have an active caller again. Hello there, good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm asking, what's your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Antoinette.
Antoinette, so I believe you will be going to church tonight, or you have plans about this evening? Pardon, come again. Kindly mute your television so we can hear you properly. I'm struggling to hear you well. Antoinette, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was asking, what's your plan for this evening?
I will go to church.
You go to church. And has it been something you do often, or it's because it's 31st you have to go to church?
Yes.
Because it's 31st. Well, Antoinette, we're struggling to hear her, but she says she still will be going to church. And I said earlier that when you think about going to church, it always should not be about just going there. A lot of people also feel like it's time for them to resurface or re-show themselves again to their pastors and their friends like, hey, I didn't die, I'm still here. You didn't, you care about me in the year and the review and all of that, but I'm thankful that I'm back again. And the whole conversation about appearing in church and the festive season is a conversation. Call us 053 916 1609. We want to take our last two callers and we can wrap up to another conversation today on our show. Call us 053 916 1609, 053 916 1609. We'd want to know what your thoughts would be for this evening. As I was saying yesterday, we engaged the head pastor of Executive Church, and he said, 80% of pastors, this is the time and season that they will be given sensational prophecies, and not all prophecies are discerning. And so when you go to church this evening, you have to also be wise enough to, be discerning enough to know what is from God and what is not from God. I think if you're in this, dispensation and you can't even differentiate between the word of God and what a man of God is, you're deceiving your own self. We have an active call again on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, if you can hear me, kindly project so we can hear you properly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I believe he's listening or she's listening to herself on the TV set, which it is not advisable. When you call, you can always be allowed to speak if only your TV is muted. We have an active caller again. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Oh, wow. Finally, we have another male speak. Sir, what is your plan this evening?
Well, good evening, good morning, and
But
happy New Year to everyone.
before that, what's your name? I'm well grateful. What's your name? Hello.
My name is Kwame Choi, calling from Accra.
Oh, okay. Go on.
Well, this evening I'll be in the house, although it's a New Year Eve, but I'll be in the house, be monitoring various church services on TV because I believe that it's a new year though, and people may be gathering all places, and because of traffic and from my place to where my church is, it will be better for me to be in the house and also monitoring the service online. But the one thing I would like to say as part of the year under review is that going forward, I think the coming government should enact policies on how prophecies and these, I don't know, permit me to use the word charlatans, are using the name of God to like put dents on Christendom. It's very, very disheartening as a Christ believer like me, all sort of things going on in this country, but no one is talking about it. It's high time that we Christians, we need to stand up and then talk about it, that there are certain things going on, practices going on in Ghana today that needs to be talked about because other religions, we don't see these kind of practices, and even the Bible that we all believe, these things are not in the Bible. That's what the Ghanaian people want. So I'll be in the house, but I believe that going forward, things will be done. Permit me to extend my Happy New Year greetings to my friends and loved ones in Accra, Sandra, and all other people. I thank you.
Kwame Che, quite some interesting conversations you shared with that this morning, but we appreciate your thought about it. Kwame Che says he will not be going to church, and he cited reasons for that. Well, let's take a last caller for this morning, and we can wrap up with this segment. Call us on 053-916-1609, 053-916-1609. Please call us, whether you'll be going to church, what's informing that decision, whether or not you will stay at home, what also is informing that decision. We would appreciate it. For me, I've said I'm going to church, whether I like it or not, I will be going to church. And it's not something I do, because it's 31st. Church is very part of me. And so, yes, I will be going to church, but I don't know about you. And so, call us, let us know what you think about it. As Kwame Che said, because of certain prophecies and utterances by some men of God, which does not depict or do not depict the values of Christianity, it has also informed his decision not to even go to church today. And he's staying at home and will be monitoring from home. So, if you can also call us, we would appreciate it and know whether or not you will be going to church. But if not, also you can call and let us know how your festive season has been going so far. Have you been partying? Have you had enough time for your family? Or you couldn't even rest this holiday season, depending on the nature of job or work you do. Call us. Again, we want a final caller before we move on to another conversation. So call us on 053-916-1609, 053-916-1609. We'd appreciate it. Let's have discussions about the festive season, also your plans for this evening, 31st night. It is the last day of 2024. If you're looking back in terms of 2024 from January till now, you have gone through a lot. But, well, today or tonight would have to be the last day, we have to say, for 2024. But that's all we also would have for this morning on the conversation here. We thank all the callers who called. Unfortunately, the line has been buzzing. My producer tells me that a lot of you are calling, but that's all time would allow. When we put out the phone numbers down, we expect that you call on time. In fact, oh, well, my producer before... my producer tells me that we have to take this last caller because he's been pestering. Okay, so let's take this final call. Good morning. Unfortunately, hello, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. What's your name and where are you calling us from, sir?
I'm calling from Boku.
Oh, wow. All the way from Boku. We're grateful that you're watching us all the way from Boku. Tell us the atmosphere like during this festive season in Boku, and perhaps your plans for this evening, 31st. Will you be going to church or you can't be bothered?
I'm going to church. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
I'm saying I'm going to test this night.
All right. I also wanted to know the feeling in Boko. We know that there was some, curfew placed over there, but how has generally this festive season in Boko been so far?
Boku is very, we are very infectious, 6 to 6. So we don't know what we are going to do in the night. So I'm praying the government to see our prayers so that we will the so far.
Right. Stay safe over there, and so we know that you will also be safe and protect yourself. I mean, Boko really has been the news for quite a number of reasons, and recently on ABC we reported about some curfew that was placed over that particular region over there. But again, that ends it for the conversation on Ghana at Speak. But we're not done. We still open the phone lines again for you to call after our business conversation and other after politics today. I mean, we will have your opinions again heard about the conversations that we will be having after this. So do stay for various conversations that are coming up. Again, this is the end for Ghana Speaks. We're grateful that you called and phoned in. Join us again when we do open the lines. Business Fix is up next. You're welcome back again to the program. We're streaming live on YouTube, ABC News Ghana. Get interactive with us on all our social platforms. We'd appreciate it so we know the discussion flows. Today we're tackling the hospitality industry, how business is booming or not for the for that sector, and so we'd want to engage some of the experts and resource personnel from that particular environment. So we dive into the heartbeat of the hospitality industry this festive season, and the holiday period is not just a time for celebration but also a critical business window for the hospitality industry again. So today we will look at how hotels and related businesses are navigating the dynamics of Christmas sales, and from managing the increased bookings and enhancing customer experience to maximizing revenue opportunities in the highly competitive market. And to help us unpack this, we are honored to have the president of the Ghana Hotel Association, Dr. Aka Nyamike, joining us live. Doc, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
We're grateful
Merry Christmas.
Absolutely, thank you so much. We appreciate the time that you spend with us. And first of all, let me ask you, how has your holiday season been, or your festive season been, before we even engage properly on the conversation?
Well, it's been relaxing, refreshing, and reflecting on the year ahead. So it's been generally okay for me.
So far, so good, I believe.
Yes, so far so good.
Right. So in terms of hospitality, we know that this is the period or season where a lot of people booking, checking here and there from people from the diaspora, trooping to celebrate or even witness certain activities. But how is the hospitality industry performing so far this festive season compared to previous years?
I must say it's been very, very good. The feedback we've received so far from our members across the country indicates high patronage with quite a number of bookings, just a few cancellations. Otherwise, generally, bookings were very high. And then the F&B, that's the food and beverage section, has been one of the best performing aspects of the business. So generally, it's been very, very good. Of course, in every situation, you have those experiences that are off the typical average that you are receiving. But generally, it's been a good season for the industry. And we are attributing it to, of course, Christmas period. We are approaching the end of the year, so a lot of people are trying to have all the events that they couldn't have. And then it's at the back of a very successful election. A lot of activities went on, and the hotels have really benefited from that.
A huge boost.
Sorry, come again.
I was asking, does it means then that this year's celebration saw a huge boost in terms of the hospitality industry or sector?
Oh yes. I mean, compared to last year, this has been a massive improvement on last year. So we are hoping and praying that that same tempo will take us into 2025 and continue to make massive growth in the business.
But are we seeing a full recovery in Christmas sales post the pandemic, or the lingering challenges still within the sector?
I think we've gotten to the point where we really don't need to refer to the COVID experience again. We've gone beyond that. We've recovered, and we are making good strides. Of course, the issues about the taxes is still there. The issues about cost of operations is still there. These are things that we have put across to the political parties, and NDC is coming to power, and they have outlined some of these things as part of their manifesto. Okay, so we are looking to 2025 with a lot of hope, hoping that the issues about some of these taxes will be resolved, and also the cost of living will also come down, and that will be good for the industry. So when it comes to patronage, when it comes to occupancy, when it comes to the other services that we offer as an industry, patronage is very good. It's quite good. What we need to resolve are the taxes and then the cost of operation. That will still be performance for us.
Well, in terms of patronage, how are the hotels also leveraging on promotions and perhaps discounts to attract customers? I mean, in the past years, you'd hear that there have been some outrageous amount appreciation of customer service over there in terms of patronage. But this year, the leveraging promotions and discounts in attracting customers, how would you also assess that?
It's been very high on the agenda. I mean, if you glean through the media space, you would notice that a lot of the hotels, especially on social media, a lot of the hotels made a lot of offers, accompanied with discounts, special programs, special lunch, brunch, and dinner, and all that. So the promotion has been good. Marketing is part of the business. I mean, you can't operate a hotel and not market it, especially when it's coming to a festive period like Christmas. So they've really leveraged on that. And then there's been a lot of partnership with the tour operators, partnership with the car rentals, partnership with tour guides. Okay, so when you put all of these together, and then don't forget that the GTA also on-road its December in GH, which in itself attracts international visitors into the country. So put all these together, the hotels simply positioned themselves in a manner that would attract their patrons to their facilities. And that is what has resulted in the high performance that we are talking about.
Since you mentioned about the GTA and other initiatives like Beyond the Return and others, I want to find out from you. So does it mean then that the people from the diaspora really patronized, the hotels as compared to its citizens itself?
Well, frankly, we are yet to get the data to support any conclusion like that. We can only refer to or make reference to last year's, which showed that we had a lot of international visitors at our hotels. Of course, plus also the domestic one. But when we step into 2025, that's when we'll have the solid data to see whether the occupancy was more for international visitors or for domestic visitors. But having said that, let me quickly add that, you see, the hotels are positioned in various ways to attract some type of clients. So you look at the lower market hotels, then the up market hotels. A lot of the up market hotels are positioned to deal with the international visitors. And a lot of the lower market hotels are also positioned to deal with the domestic clients. Okay, of course, there's some mixture too in some of the facilities, because sometimes you have foreigners coming to the lower market hotels, but by and large, it's usually more to the up market for the foreign visitors. But it's only when we've had the solid data that we'll be able to tell for sure how the distribution went this time around.
What are the challenges that hotels face in terms of satisfying their customers? Because I ask this because most people, after patronizing these facilities, they come up with some report about poor customer service from the facility in terms of food, and generally assessing the the welcoming of the guest itself in terms of customer service in general. It really has become quite some topical conversation. But is this a challenge that needs some concern that you also would be thinking of addressing? In as much as we have not witnessed these, in recent times. In fact, I have not heard so much about it in this particular year, but maybe it will come up. But is that a challenge that the hotels in particular face in satisfying your customers?
Yes. You see, when it comes to the hotel industry, the interesting thing that everybody goes to a hotel facility expecting the highest standard, okay, in terms of the quality of service. So when there's a small hitch, that becomes the news, rather than the great experience that they receive as well. A small hitch becomes the news. And a lot of it, as you rightly mentioned earlier on, has to do with the customer service. In fact, it's one of our major headaches when it comes to the industry, because a lot of the satisfaction that people express concerning hotels is usually with customer service. And what we are trying to do is to get the GTA to support this training, this national training on regular basis to deal with the matter. And I hope that we'll be able to get there someday soon. Apart from also the issue about the facility itself. The facility itself in terms of the rooms, in terms of the other services like the swimming pools and the conference facilities and all that. That has to do with investment. And when the cost of operation becomes so high, then the maintenance also becomes an issue. Keep the facilities addressed with usage also becomes an issue. So these are two major areas that is of concern. And you would notice that, or you can infer that when the cost of operation is very high, your profit margin is so small, and then becomes a challenge to reinvest in providing high quality service. But I must say, and you are right to say that these complaints have watered down a bit in this season, because the hotels are also putting in a lot. They are putting in a lot to ensure that the clients have that kind of experience, because the hotel basically survives on return visits. And a lot of the marketing that hotels do is through their own clients. They get the good experience, and then they become a marketing tool for the hotels, talking about it to other clients, potential clients as well. So the hotels put in a lot, except that, like I said, a small hitch becomes the news rather than the bigger experience that people get. So they are doing their best, hotels are doing their best, we are doing our best to ensure that the experience you get when you visit a hotel stays with you for ages, and every opportunity that you get, you want to go back to them.
On the aspect of that. But again, let's look at the current economic situation that Ghana faces and how you hotel companies or the hotel sector in general also dealing with it. So how is how are the hotels generally managing cost while still delivering quality service? Just as you mentioned that even though it's a challenge for the sector, which you're trying so hard in partnership with GTA to mitigate that situation, but in terms of cost and the current economic challenge that Ghana faces, how are you balancing the two and still delivering quality service to some of your customers?
Well, every hotel behaves like a typical business entity. So there is an extra or deliberate effort to ensure that you manage costs and manage it very, very well. Because if you don't, that is where you have the challenges, where your profit margin will erode, and then your investors have a challenge with you. So the hotels put a lot of effort in managing costs. And it starts right with electricity. And that is where you have a lot of, where some of the hotels using the key cards. The key cards which will ensure that the electricity goes off automatically when the client leaves the room to save electricity. And then they also use the energy saving bulbs and other devices that ensure that the electricity consumption goes lower. The same applies to water. Some of the taps use the sensor, so you can only use just the water that you need for any particular activity. So that, and then also in acquiring materials for their work. Guess what? Some of the hotels go to a extent of importing items from other countries. There's a cost component and also the quality of the items as well. Okay, so those cost components also come in. And then they also try to look at the staff. The staff in terms of the work that is done at the hotel. Talk about efficiency and effectiveness so that you don't overstaff the hotel. Because once you overstaff the hotel, then you have salary or remuneration issues to deal with. They also scout around for a lot of vendors who provide value for money, and then ensure that their costs do not go beyond the roof. So those are some of the strategies that they do. And of course, they also ensure that the patronage, because without patronage, there's a challenge. So you match your cost of operation with, of course, your patronage, and then you break even with that. Yeah.
Doc, we're grateful for your time. We wish we could continue this conversation because it's very interesting, and maybe in subsequent bulletin and conversations we'll engage you. But we appreciate your time this morning.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Absolutely. Dr. Aka Nyamike is the president of Ghana Hotels Association, on the back of tracking some of the gains or losses some hotel companies, and in general during this festive season, how the hotel company or sector has been faring. But that's all for business. We're back with our main discussions. Please don't go. Welcome back again to the program. It's still ABC in the morning. Now, this is the last edition here on the program. We're hoping to satisfy your viewer expression, come 2025 in a proper and grand style. So anticipate for the best. But we are focusing today on our main discussion here under review. Yesterday, we focused on the environment. In fact, we not just about that. We spoke about governance and also brought in the conversation into other spheres of governance, where we paid attention to the Galamsey fight and government's commitments. But today we're putting the focus on the economy and the energy sector. On today's main discussion, we're taking a closer look at the two areas also that directly impacts the lives of Ghanaians, our economy and the energy sector. As we wrap up the year and look ahead to 2025, it's the perfect time, as you all know, to reflect on where we are and the challenges we face, and of course the opportunities we can also harness to move forward. Now, the economy, as we know, touches every Ghanaian in a way or another, shaping how we also live, our work, and provide for our families. Now, over the past years, we've experienced some tough moments, rising prices that also stretch from household budgets, city under pressure, the effort to tackle our national debt, the IMF conversations, GDP, and a whole lot about the economy aspect of it. But at the same time, I beg your pardon, the agriculture sector, trade, and the manufacturing company also have worked hard to adapt to global challenges, changes. Now, while the policy makers have also focused on strategies to stabilize and grow the economy, we also would want to focus and have discussions extensively on that. So now let's talk about the energy sector also, because without it, the wheels of industry and everyday life also, we know, cannot be active, and we also will go to a halt. Now, this year, the energy sector has been a mixed bag, and on one hand, there have been some promising steps like exploring renewable energy options and trying to ensure a steady power supply. On the other, issues like rising cost, occasional blackouts, and delayed services also was there, such as projects which have remained, and still have much work to do and still needs to be done. So we will be diving into the key issues with our panels of experts, and also have some important questions for them, so we can also peruse properly the energy sector and the economy perspective. That over the past weeks, the conversation about the economy, whether or not we're back, we have recovered after the COVID experience, post-COVID, and even pre-COVID, and all of that, the conversation about the economy. Now, in terms of energy, we want to also better understand how the energy sector is ready, whether is meeting its demand in a way that both is affordable and sustainable. We will be joined on phone. Hopefully, we're trying to connect with our resource persons to help us with the discussion. So our guest would be Professor Godwin Bokpin, who is an economist with the University of Ghana Business School, and also Kojo Yacha, beg your pardon. He's a policy lead with the Petroleum and Conventional Energy at ASEP. So these would be our two gentlemen, solid, strong individuals who are well versed in the energy and economy sector to help us peruse the sector properly. So we will be again analyzing in fact, what is more concerning, or what is more of interest to most Ghanaians is about the economy. The economy is what drives the country. Aside from other sectors, the economy is what drives the sector so well. And so we do have online Mr. Kojo Yacha. He's a policy lead with the Petroleum and Conventional Energy, I beg your pardon, at ASEP. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So let's look at the year in review 2024. I mean, today's the final day. We're just wrapping up. But holistically, if you were to assess the year in review in terms of economy and energy in particular, because you are specialized in that area, what would you say Ghana has benefited, or could achieve, or can achieve, or has achieved, let me just say, in 2024?
Thanks once again, and Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year to your listeners. The year in review has been a rather difficult one for the energy sector. If you look at what happened in the petroleum sector, and then you come to the power sector as well, we have managed for a large extent to keep the lights on, even though there were periods that consumers had to battle with having lights. But for a large period, we have really tried to keep the lights on to serve the consuming public, and that really comes at a cost. There have been periods that the utility service provider, in this case ECG, has not just been truthful to consumers about what the challenges are. They've been open public banter between the public utility and the Utilities Regulatory Commission on what the right things to be done are. So it was more like a chaotic environment where you don't really know who is in charge, and the problem that we came into the year with kept spiraling out of control. One of the biggest challenges that we have in the power sector specifically is the inability of the system to pay the entire value chain from the business that it does. So power is generated, transmitted, and distributed to consumers. And at the distribution end, where the revenue for the power generated has to be collected, we have over the years been failing to ensure that we optimize that revenue collection. And this year, actually, the revenue collection has fallen significantly to around 43% average per month, which is really not good enough. And what that means is that the outstanding financial obligation cannot be met. The other 57% of the revenue now becomes under recoveries. That some way, somehow, government will have to dig into the budget or find money elsewhere to be able to pay for those things. And as we continue to pay for those things out of the budget, what it means is that you are taking money away from social spending that will improve the welfare of people. So far, we are doing about $1.5 billion in terms of those under recoveries that government will have to come in again to be paying on an annual basis. And that is not sustainable enough, because we've all noticed within the period how tight the fiscal space of government has become. And taking money out of the budget now to just prop up inefficiency in the revenue collection and the revenue administration of the power distribution is really not a great one. If you go to the petroleum sector as well, we are still stuck with our three producing fields. We've seen a consistent decline in production since 2019. This year's story, we've not seen the full numbers, but it doesn't show any promise that it's going to be any better. There are some discoveries that could quickly be accelerated to add on to the production profile that we have, but a lot of them have been, if you take the Springfield find, for example, for over 3 years have been boiled in arbitration. This year, the arbitration results came and it showed that government was simply not following the science and couldn't have instructed the two companies to unitize on the basis of nothing. So we've come back to square one. We've wasted 3 years chasing each other in courts and gone back to square one, where the right thing that was supposed to be done, which is appraisal, is being done. We are basically fighting with every of our operators upstream. ENI, we are fighting with Talo, Cosmos, and all of those things. So it creates the impression that we have become more of a hostile environment for petroleum business over the year, which means that while the frontier markets in Africa, like Cote d'Ivoire and Namibia, keep attracting potential exploration companies, we, on the other hand, are not having any such successes, in spite of the fact that we've been roaming around the world, organizing road shows, attending investment forums to be able to attract investment into our upstream petroleum sector. We've not had any successes as yet.
Then it means that we really have not been able to address the fundamental issues in terms of the energy sector. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean that is really what the problem is. To be honest, if you take the power sector for example, since 2014, over a decade now, every serious assessment of the power sector has pointed to the fact that the distribution end, which is the ECG, is the weak link of the sector. And the expectation is that we are going to find sustainable solutions to be able to deal with the problem. That is why the MCC Compact 2 was dedicated to fixing the energy sector, because the implication of having a weak energy sector on the economy is very dire. I mean, you've seen that through the doomsday period. And I've also illustrated how much we are taking from the budget to prop up the under recoveries, which is basically inefficiencies from the energy sector. So when the MCC Compact was proposed, I mean, to fix the energy, the distribution, and especially the financial and technical turnaround, I mean, it was a welcome news that for once we were going to deal with this problem and deal with it extensively. We all know what happened when the concession arrangement was proposed and eventually implemented, all the fracas around it. And since then, we have abandoned that process that was to ensure that there is some form of private sector participation in the financial and operational turnaround of ECG to be able to ensure that the losses that it was making, because at the time the concession was being contemplated, ECG was making losses around 18%, and it was expected that the concessionaire will come in and within 5 years on an annual basis invest about $100 million, so cumulatively $500 million, to move the losses from 18% to about 12%. Now, since then, the losses have gone in excess of 35% from the company. So the fundamental problem that we have, which is the distribution end, is not being solved. And it appears that the status quo has remained same because some people have found a way to insert themselves into the process to be able to milk it, to be able to profit off it. If you take, for example, the procurement of meters in the country, I mean, at some point, ECG was not procuring meters that it used on its own. Those meters were being procured by the Ministry of Energy and Finance, for example. Why will a utility have their meters procured by some other body than themselves? So those are some of the things that really is crippling the distribution efforts, because what happens is that over time you see, I mean, members of parliament distributing meters. Most of these meters are not calibrated. A lot of them also are not connected to the metering system. So people are consuming power, and that power is not being accounted for.
I was just about even coming to ask that particular question in terms of utility. This year alone, we've seen about, I believe, not more than 3, price adjustment in terms of utility. But judging from your comments, it looks like Ghanaians have not really been served properly in terms of value for money, right?
Yeah, I mean, the service delivery has been poor. It has not been commensurate with the adjustments. And if you really look at the tariff adjustment, I mean, it's in order for it to be adjusted because one of the components, I mean, the key component that was driving the adjustment this year was the exchange rate. It's a key component of the tariff buildup. So just to ensure that the under recoveries are not as significant due to uh, exchange rates differentials, then there's going to be a bump up to it. But the service delivery itself has not been optimal. Uh, I mean, people have their lights off, and the utility company is telling them you don't have your lights off. I mean, the lived experiences of the consumers are written off. I mean, so service delivery really has been poor. It's not been the best to the extent that ECG will even lie to its regulator. The regulator will have to go and do its audits to notice that when ECG says that there are transformers and things have problems, that was not true. If I mean the revenues that ECG is collecting and is supposed to deposit into the cash waterfall mechanism for onward distribution along the value chain, they decide to keep some for themselves. They don't put everything, which is really flouting directives by the plurality in the office of the presidency, actually. So ECG had become ungovernable at some point within the year, where nobody says anything and they will listen. That is how bad the situation has got within the year.
Again, let's go back to the debt. Let's focus more on that. Looking at this current administration, and again, you can correct me if my figures are not correct. According to what we know so far, about more than 20 billion, cedis of debt is piled up over there. You ask yourself, what is the current government's living, or the outgoing government, let me just say, in terms of debt living for the next administration? And can we even be able to get ourselves off from this debt situation that we find ourselves stuck in? And what does this even say for our energy sector in the next year?
I mean, the numbers keep varying, but it is within that region. The numbers keep varying extensively because there are some disputes about even how much is owed the IPPs. Government says it owes $1 billion. The IPPs are saying around the region of 1.2 billion. So the numbers vary depending on who you are talking to, but it's around that region. I think that the key problem has been that while we have debt that we owe, for example, to the IPPs that we may term as legacy debts because they've been there over time and we've been taking a piecemeal approach to settling those debts. The main problem is the continuous or the recurrent debt accumulation that we have. So if you have debt within the system, say 1 billion, and you are not creating new debt, then the debt does not grow. But we have the case where we are doing just 43% on the average monthly in revenue collections, and the outstanding 57% has to be paid somehow. So if you are not able to pay it, then it adds up to the existing debts that you have. That is why we've always been saying that any attempt at fixing the energy sector problem that isolates the debt accumulation at the distribution end will be an exercise in futility. We have to really tackle the revenue leakages that we have in at the distribution end, so that if we push, revenue collection to 80%, 85%, or even 90% over a certain period, then we are sure that whilst we are paying off what we owe already, significant amount of debt is not being left within the system for us to take up for, and that is possible. That is why we pay people to manage the system, and we expect that they'll be able to deliver on these things, because nowhere else, I mean, everywhere else in the world, power is run as a business, and they don't have much of the challenges that we have in here. And we've seen them go around on steady visits to go and learn from other people. How much they are learning is not showing in the way they are managing the system. And it is our strong belief that at this point, really, ECG has shown that it cannot reform itself if it is still within the control of government. We are not calling for the sale of ECG. It's still a strategic national asset, but we are talking about the financial and operational turnaround of the company, and the government has really shown that it cannot reform ECG. You need, and if also this year, given the open public banter between the utility and its regulator, you need some form of private sector participation where the regulator will be able to set KPIs for this private entity in terms of the financial and operational turnaround of the company to be able to deliver. But if you allow someone,
how can that be done? How can that be done?
No, one of that process was what we tried in the 2018, 2019 through the concession process, which brought in PDS. That was a good approach to be able to do that, and we can still visit that conversation. But what we have to do is to insulate that process away from the political jackals that will want to hijack the process and insert themselves. We have to make it more transparent to ensure that people are not cutting corners in trying to deliver the service that we want them to deliver. Because the PDS, the reason why it was abrogated was the cutting corners, the fraudulent insurance guarantees, and all of those things that were produced. If the process were transparent enough and time was given to do due diligence on all of these guarantees that have been provided by the company and all of that, it would have solved a big chunk of the problem. Because the expectation, like I mentioned earlier, was that the concessionaire was to invest $500 million over 5 years into the company, and that was to retool the infrastructure, make sure that the losses are cut down significantly from 18% to 12%. So the models are there to be done. It is the commitment to be able to hive off the political interest in ECG that is a difficult thing. So I hear the incoming government has the turnaround of ECG high on its agenda. We are waiting to see what strategy they are going to adopt to be able to do this. But whatever the strategy is, there has to be a high threshold of transparency for everyone to be able to see what is happening, so that we don't end up with another PDS debacle on our hand and leave the problem.
Still on that conversation, or that bit of the conversation, the sectoral reforms that many have paid attention to or indulged in these conversations, there have been some conversations about privatizing some part of the energy sector. I don't know about your take on that, but judging from what you're saying, that in terms of transparency and all of that, would you also subscribe to privatizing certain part of the energy sector, just so we can have smooth transparency in the energy sector?
Well, I think we are saying the same thing, really, but we are not really. If you say privatizing, it's in the Ghanaian space, it connotes selling off to a private entity, right? Like I mentioned in my earlier submission, we are not for selling ECG to anybody, but we want some form of private participation, right, in the operation and management of ECG. You get it? It's just like the way, as I think Smith owns La Palm Beach Hotel, but SNIT doesn't manage La Palm Beach Hotel. It has a management company managing the company for it and generating revenue for it. It's a similar arrangement, and there are a lot of models out there that have been tried and tested across the globe that we can evaluate and see which of them fits our context. That is what we are asking for, because when that happens, then you are able to properly regulate that private entity that is managing the company to ensure that they are doing the right things, and not someone also appointed by the president. And then every day you have to go to the presidency and be solving disputes and public banters and all of those things. That is not healthy for the business that we are running as a part, and for the problem and the big hole that we are in and trying to get out of that hole. That is not healthy for it. So we have always maintained that some form of private sector participation in the management and operation of ECG is very key to coming out of the problem that we have there.
Now let me just put you on the spot on this question. So I asked, what in terms of energy sector is this administration or the outgoing government leaving for the incoming government? I'm tempted to ask that question because, as I said, the debt you say is always on the increase, and so then it means that we are leaving an outstanding debt for the incoming administration to come bear the brunt or the cost of it, which is also going to have an impact on the ordinary Ghanaians. So let me just put you on the spot and ask this question: what kind of energy sector is the outgoing government giving to the next government?
Well, I mean, from all that we've said, really, there's debt in the space that they need to grapple with. And the point is that if you fix the debt accumulation, the recurrent debt accumulation, governments may not necessarily have to dip hands into its budgets to be able to pay for the under recoveries. If you bring in a private sector player to manage and operate ECG, you may not necessarily need to dip your hands into budgets to be able to do that, because of course that private player will be expected to inject some capital into the operations of the company. But in all, we have a power sector that is sinking in debt that the new government will have to contend with. We have a power sector that needs significant retooling of the infrastructure to be able to serve the people better. We have a power sector that, especially at the distribution end, where private interests have succeeded in embedding themselves into the system, with suboptimal contracts being awarded by ECG. That takes money away from the cash waterfall mechanism. If you take the Haptel contract, for example, that we've been talking about. So that is what the new government coming in has to contend with, and they have to really tackle it head on, because before it becomes their Achilles heel within the course of the administration.
Again, the energy sector has been faced with a lot of drama. Talk of the Sogli, Sonona Sogli state again. Sonona Sogli energy power supply in recent times, where there was some kind of drama. But what steps, let me just ask, need to be taken to attract more local and foreign investment to the Ghana energy sector, just so we can also have some balance in terms of power supply?
Can you take that question again? I don't know.
I was asking that in terms of energy sector investment and the innovations, what steps must Ghana also take in terms of having innovation, of creating some kind of foreign and local investment, so the energy sector could also see some kind of a boost?
I think what we need mostly is predictability in the regulation. Over the years, we've seen the regulation being more arbitrary. Some state regulator thinks that they are powerful, they can show you where the power lies, and the application of the rules have become very arbitrary. And that has led to a lot of court cases, judgment debts. If you remember the GPGC judgment debts that is still outstanding against the government because the due process was not followed in the termination of that power agreement. So you need some level of predictability that all players know that these are the rules of the game. This is the master of the game, and this is how the rules of the game have to be applied. That is the only way you're going to attract investments into your sector. Anything apart from this, you are only telling people that you are unfriendly. You can choose favorites and punish people for even bringing their money into your country.
Judging from that, could you say the energy sector is ready to meet growing demand in a way that can also be affordable and sustainable?
Of course. I mean, we have some capacity in terms of generation. Demand really has not grown commensurate with the projections that we've had. The demand has been projected to grow 10% year on year for a long time by the Energy Commission, but we've been hovering between 4 to 6% per annum. So the generation that we have will be able to meet demand if we still maintain that same trajectory. Even now, there are conversations of how to introduce renewable energy into our energy mix, increase from the 2% that we have to 10% by 2030. So we would wait to see if that also comes in. That is also going to augment the generation capacity that we have, and that should be able to meet the demand. Because we have really failed at driving industrial growth that is really going to drive a significant upsurge in electricity demand. Much of our demand in Ghana is coming from residential consumption, and the pace of that residential consumption can be met by current generation capacity.
Could you, again, I said that we're looking holistically at the energy sector, but looking at the Ministry of Energy, for instance, what do you think they probably might have or should have looked at, but still didn't tackle in terms of the energy sector? And again, before maybe you can also further with this question, can energy, renewable energy, also help in solving some of our energy challenges that face the country?
Yeah, no, I've just stated that we've planned to augment our current 2% renewable energy in the energy mix to about 10% by 2030. From next year, that leaves us 5 years to be able to achieve that. And that really is the future of energy, to get renewable energy sources coming in to help. We've seen an increase in penetration on household level renewable energy consumption. So a lot more people setting up solar for their house, even some businesses as well, some hotels for heating water and all of those things. And as the technology becomes cheaper, especially the storage.
You have no call credits in your MTN account.
With Kojo Yachem, he is with the energy sector. Unfortunately, we've lost him over there, but quite some interesting conversation we're trying to have the energy sector, and he's made mention of some initiatives that this government, the next government should be looking at for, and the expectations also. He touched on the debt, which he says that Ghana still has a lot of debt to consider. The next government would have to bear the cost at all cost. Again, we talked about the utility, whether or not the sector has been able to, sustain Ghanaians in terms of providing quality for service. He says more needs to be done on that. Again, we're trying to get his thought about the ministry and some energy policies that perhaps we should look at. Kojo Iyache is a policy lead for petroleum and conventional energy with ASEP, and we will try to connect with him again. But still on this matter, we're not only focusing about energy. Promise we're also tackling about the economy. And as I said earlier, the economy is what drives the country. And just as we did yesterday on our discussion, we looked at the governance. Today we're focusing on putting the spotlight on the energy sector and on the economy as well. You, as an ordinary Ghanaian, you are a vendor, a market, a trader. How is business generally in 2024 been for you? If you listen to what the policymakers say, is it a reflection of what you see when you go to the markets, when you try to do your businesses, or perhaps there's more to be done in terms of energy and utility? You heard him. He says more needs to be done, and the government of the day. In terms of utility, it really didn't perform so quite well, because this year alone we saw 3 times, price increase, and he says that more needs to be done. But we're trying hard again, because the line dropped when you're trying to engage him. Also, we will be joined by Professor Godfred Bokwe, who is an economist for the University Ghana of Business School. As and when we do get contact with him, we will try to establish some conversations with him. But we're still looking at the year under review and the energy sector, and also the economy. As I said earlier, again, in our subsequent bulletin, we'll try to open the phone lines for you to call. You can also share your thoughts and contributions about what we have discussed so far in terms of energy. If you are home, your prepaid meters, I hear there's a new meter that still, I haven't seen myself, but I've seen that a lot of renewed meters are being given to some individuals in their homes, and some even have raised concerns that it even power consuming, and they wish they had preferred the old meters as compared to what the new meters have been given to them, because it's power consuming. And for instance, if you buy 100 cedis in a day, you would have to be, in a span of like 2 or 3 days, you have to consider buying again, which means that the new meters, it's quite consuming as compared to what the old meters have been serving the ordinary Ghanaians again. Well, again, we're trying to call Kojo Iyache again, and seem to be having some technological issues. And again, unfortunately, since because we're talking about energy, the crisis on the phone or the line also has been unfortunately disenergized and is not so much in a good position to let us enjoy the conversation. But we are trying again. I believe Kojo is back on the line. Kojo, if you're back on the line, once again, we're grateful for your time.
Yes, I'm back.
Unfortunately, the line dropped, but we were saying something until we dropped the conversation, or the phone dropped. If you can kindly continue from that part you left off.
Yeah, I was talking about the renewable energy potential that we have. How that could also help to meet demand somehow. We have 5 years more to meet our target of augmenting our renewable energy in the energy mix to 10% from 2% by 2030. So if we do that, then yeah. You also asked about the ministry, what they should have done. I think it ties to your earlier question that I talked about predictability in regulation, where the rules are known and the rules are interpreted as they should. There is fairness in the regulation. That is what has been lacking. Even if you look at the petroleum side as well, has been lacking. In the power sector, you see the ministers come to openly back ECG and say there is no doom saw and all of those. Meanwhile, people are suffering. People's lives have gone off. People's food is going bad in their fridges. That approach to governance is really not sustainable, and it shouldn't be witnessed in a ministry that really superintends over a critical sector of the economy. When you look at the power and the petroleum sector as well, the same theme has been running through, and also the level of consultation has been very poor. Before the year end, there was some conversation about merging some of the government agencies under the ministry. And if you speak to a lot of people, nobody knows why they want to do that, because somebody just thought that it would be something nice to have. So the rationale behind that has not been discussed with no stakeholders in the space. Even people within the various agencies that they wanted to merge do not know why that was being done, and that is very symptomatic of the way the governance of the space has been over the period. And that is not something that should be welcomed for such a critical sector of the economy.
From you, in terms of government policies in trying to contribute to the energy sector, how effective has it been? And perhaps the next government, what are some of the proposed plans that we should also be tackling? Because there have been some quite a plethora, I'm just saying, of policies in terms of solving some issues relating to the energy sector, but the effectiveness always goes to dwindle or to nothing. But you ask yourself, these are policies that seem or want to be implemented so it can also help the crisis that the energy sector is facing. But going forward, what measures should government, in terms of policy-wise, be looking at to the energy sector?
I think you've answered the question for yourself. Sometimes I feel that we put in place policies to feel good about ourselves, and not really because we want to effect a certain change. Also, over time, I've also noticed a trend where policies are being made so that some people can benefit, some private interests can benefit from the outcomes of that policy. So it's not really about fixing a problem, but how do we ensure that we insert ourselves into the process, the operational process of the space, so that we can benefit from it. We can privatize the benefits from that process. That also has been a big challenge to the governance of the space. You can't just do policy which dictates that you should do A, B, C, D, and then whoever is implementing decides that, to what they think should be the case should be. That is not how prosperous nations are being run. So for the next government, really, they have to really show a commitment to depart from the current way of doing things. More level-headedness, more fairness in the regulations, and also in the application of the policies that have been set out to ensure that the interest of the Ghanaian citizen is paramount, and not some private interest that is fueling the development of policies, and also fueling how the laws and the rules are being applied, depending on which party is involved.
Kojo, it has been quite some interesting conversations we've had with you. But again, finally, before I let you go, let's look at the vulnerability in terms of the energy sector. Finally, before I let you go, how can we address this challenge, and so the energy sector also can see a bit of light? And I always am careful with the next government, because it has a lot to do, honestly. Take it or leave it, it has a lot to do in terms of the energy. And he has no excuse for that, because I'm sure that the administration knew what they were getting themselves into. But looking at the vulnerability, as I asked earlier, how can we solve such in the energy sector?
I think the biggest problem we have now is the debt. The legacy debt and the continuous debt accumulation, that if we are able to tackle, and we've had prior conversation on how to deal with that problem, if we're able to tackle that, then we should be fine because we have enough capacity to be able to serve the demand that we have if we are able to ensure that there's financial liquidity across the value chain so that generators get the money that is due them, the fuel suppliers, the gas that we need to get, they are paid on time. Then we because that's also another place that there's a huge problem. The fuel suppliers, we owe them a lot, and sometime this year, they almost triggered the World Bank guarantee on the OCTP projects because of how much we owe them. So if we're able to, fix the financial liquidity of the value chain to ensure that how much is generated is able to cover all the financial obligations, the transmitters get theirs, the distribution end get theirs, then we shouldn't have a cause for alarm. But that would need very proactive from day one decision making on the most efficient strategies of achieving that, and also doing that in a very transparent manner. So we are not, while there are concerns because of how big the debt situation is, we are not in a very vulnerable situation that cannot be fixed. These are all things that can be fixed. We are not in a situation like in the past where demand has significantly outstripped supply to the extent that now you have to wait for power plants to come and set up and all of those things. No, we are not there as of today. But we are at a point where we have to prevent the sector from sucking up money from the budget. That is where we are. And if we are able to fix that, then we should be fine. And these things are fixable. In a year, we can be able to fix this problem and get going.
Kojo, this morning we appreciate your time and contribution on our program.
Thank you very much for having me, and have a blessed New Year. I hope to talk to you in the New Year.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to you as well. Kojo Yaw is a policy lead with the Petroleum and Conventional Energy at ASEP. And that does it for a conversation this morning on our main discussion. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get Professor Godwin Bokpin. He told us he has been engaged in some other critical issue, and so we do apologize for not bringing you that. But in subsequent bulletin, we'll also look at the economic aspect of its own challenges in 2024. But that's all for our main discussion. Up next is Politics Today. Samuel Nimabo comes up with that shortly.
Hello there, good morning. You are welcome to Politics Today, the penultimate edition of Politics Today for the year 2024, the year of our Lord. Now, we started 2024 with Politics Today on our morning show somewhere around August there. And this year has been a year of political activities, from campaigns to rallies to policy unveiling, manifesto launches, to media engagement, meet the presses, and all of that. We've brought you these engagements, these political activities on Politics Today. Today, we are wrapping up with yet another political issue on this segment on Politics Today on 31st December 2024. If you recount 2024, you would say that it's been a year of, some say good year, some say it's a turbulent year, but whatever it is, it has been a year of our Lord. The Lord has made this year for us, and we want to end it with a good note, or end it on a good note. And today, the last political issue that we'll be discussing on today's show, or on in December or in 2024, is still on the issue of contention in the 2024 elections, some contentious seat in the 2024 elections. You would remember that after the December 7th election, some result in about 9 to 12 constituencies were called into question because the political parties from the NPP to the NDC disagreed with the outcome, with the elections outcome. And as a result, some were recollated and redeclared, some were sent, and the recollated and declared were sent to court. The NPP went to the High Court, got an order from the High Court, a mandamus order from the High Court, for the EC to recollate the result in 9 of the constituencies actually, but the EC ended up recollating 7 of the 9 constituencies. Now the NDC, the National Democratic Congress, disagreed with the recollations. They said that it was a breach of the CI 127, and that there is nowhere within CI 127 that allows for recollation of results. So they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in their favor, and as a result, the Supreme Court quashed 4 of the recollated seats, or the 4 of the recollated result, and says that the High Court should go and rehear the case. Today, December 31st, 2024, the last day of the year 2024, the High Court, the Accra High Court, is expected to sit on this case. So the NPP and the NDC are set to appear in court today, Tuesday, December 31, 2024, to resolve issues surrounding the collation of results in disputed constituencies. What we gather is that at the High Court, both parties have already started entering, and very soon the hearing in the High Court will start very soon, and we'll be bringing you the update what the court will do. What the court will do is what we are looking up to, because today's ruling, or if the High Court is able to come out with a ruling today, it is going to determine who is going to shake up a lot of things, whether the EC will go and do recollation, or the EC will go with the initial result. Whatever the outcome will be, it will be consequential. It will have some consequences on the constituencies, the 4 constituencies in question. So the background to this case, as I've mentioned, is that the EC declared the NPP candidate as winners in 7 of the recollated constituencies. The NDC, dissatisfied with the recollations, petitioned the Supreme Court, arguing that their candidate rights to natural justice had been violated, because the NDC says that the High Court judge, the trial judge who heard the case, refused to grant them hearing, and their PCs, the parliamentary candidate, hearing in the case. So it was a breach of their natural justice and have been violated, so they were not given a hearing. The party also accused the presiding judge of bias, and in its ruling, the Supreme Court on that Friday ruling agreed with the NDC's candidate's rights to natural justice had been breached and overturned the High Court decision. However, the Apex Court found no evidence of bias, because the NDC in that writ to the Supreme Court argued that not just the right to natural justice was breached, the judge also acted in bias. But on one count, the Supreme Court agreed and disagreed on the other count. So the High Court is now tasked with deciding the fate of the disputed constituencies. They are the Techiman South constituency, the Okaigwe Central constituency, one that has been very contentious. Now, let me just give you a brief understanding of Okaigwe Central. On December 7th, when the elections happened in Okaigwe Central, December 8th, results started trickling in. Some persons have, some even stations, TV stations, had gone ahead to declare the NPP Patrick Yaw-Boamah as MP-elect in the area. Few hours later, the NDC side, Sadiq and Baba Sadiq, came out with their own result, also saying that they had won the election. So it took about close to 3 days. We had not known who actually won in that constituency, in the Okaigwe Central constituency. Then around December 10, 11 there, the EC declared Baba Sadiq as winner of the elections. However, the NPP and the EC, the NPP argued that the coalition wasn't done rightly. The EC also agreed that the declaration that was made by the presiding officer in the Okaigwe Central was done under duress, so they can't validate that results and they don't recognize it. So because of that, they did a recollation, and the recollated result favored NPP's Patrick Yaw-Boamah. So that's what happened in Okaigwe Central. So apart from Techiman South, which is one constituency that the High Court quashed the recollated result, Okaigwe Central is another one. Then we have Tema Central, Ebi Bright's constituency. She was initially declared winner of the elections in Tema Central, and it brought a lot of joy to those within the showbiz industry because they believed that they were getting a lot of representation. Ebi Bright was in there, Baba Sadiq was in there, A Plus was also in there. So they thought that, oh, the showbiz people, personalities say, oh, we now have some good representation in Parliament. But the EC, after the recollation in Tema Central, ruled, or the elections didn't go in favor. The recollated result didn't go in favor of Ebi Bright. So it's another constituency that your eyes would have to be on, whether Ebi Bright gets to win it again. Initially she won, then there was a recollation, then she lost. Now they are going to court today. Court will determine the way forward, whether there will be another recollation, there will be a rerun, as the EC is saying they will do in Dom Kobenya. It's another thing we'll look at, to whether the High Court will order for a rerun in these constituencies. The High Court will order for a recollation, or whatever the High Court will do, we'll try and bring that to your to you and to your understanding. We'll try and bring it up for you. We'll explain it to you. So do stay tuned on ABC News Ghana at 12 p.m. from 12 to 1 p.m. on our midday bulletin. We'll try and give you update as to what is happening or what has happened in the High Court, where the argument, what the legal arguments are, and who is likely, if the ruling is not out by then, we can even who is likely making a good case for themselves, and we'll be able to see who is likely to get the ruling in their favor. But you would understand that this is a pressing issue. The time, if you look at the time and the exigency around these seats, it is a pressing one that the High Court will take a landmark decision today, because from today we have just 6 days for the EC to submit the list of gazetted MPs. I mean, the EC has already gazetted 274 of the MPs elected, and there were remaining 2. Now the Supreme Court has quashed 4 of them, so now they have 270 gazetted MPs in the awaiting to be sworn in on January 6th, on the 8th of January 7th. So the other 4, these 4 constituencies in question, Tema Central, Okaigwe Central, Techiman South, and and these other constituencies, these 4 constituencies, will have a very big issue today, because if the EC is not able to meet the time, it means that these constituencies will not have representation in the 4th Parliament on December 7th. Perhaps they can join Parliament later after the 9th Parliament has been constituted, but they may not get to join Parliament on January 7th, the 4 constituencies. So these constituencies are one that want to keep our eyes on. Techiman South, Okaikwe Central, Ablekuma North is another constituency. Then the Tema Central, Ablekuma North, you remember, Erabna Obin initially was declared winner in the constituency. The EC says that the coalition was done under duress. The NPP candidate in the elections resisted the declaration. She said she will not accept the result in the Ablekuma North constituency. Went to the High Court. High Court did recoalition and declared in favor of her. However, the Supreme Court has reversed it. So the outcome of today's hearing would be a very monumental one and a consequential one. But let's get to see what happened in the Supreme Court and what the Supreme Court said. That the ruling the Supreme Court made in favor of the NDC, for which reason the High Court has to meet today or has to sit on the case today to rehear it and take a decision forward. So let's look at that Supreme Court hearing on Friday.
Brought to be quashed as separate and distinct, we have decided to exercise our discretionary power to quash by certiorari, having regard to the peculiar circumstances of each ruling. Consequently, we hereby quash the orders of mandamus made for coalition of results by the Electoral Commission in the following constituencies. 1. Okaikwe Central. 2. Ablekuma North. 3. Tema Central. And 4. Techiman South. Accordingly, the coalition of results in the above constituencies by the Electoral Commission after 20th December 2024 on the orders of the court are hereby set aside. For the avoidance of doubt, the orders of the High Court made in respect of Nsawam Adwajiri and Hafuanon North are not affected by this order, our order, and in effect, those declarations stand. Despite quashing the orders stated above, the applications for mandamus themselves are still alive and ought to be heard and determined. In line with our conclusion on this application, we exercise our powers under Article 1294 of the 1992 Constitution and make an order pursuant to Order 55, Rule 65, to the effect that the applicants herein are granted leave to file affidavits and statement of case in answer to the respective applications for mandamus which have not been quashed. No, which have not been quashed. Those which have not been quashed. They are still extant. Those which are quashed, yeah. Now those which have been quashed, sorry, as interested parties. The time for filing is hereby abridged to 2 days from today. The applicants for mandamus in the High Court upon service may respond to the processes of the interested parties. Having regard to the circumstance of time constraint on the national electoral calendar, we hereby abridge the time for the hearing of the mandamus applications in the High Court and direct the High Court to hear the applications for mandamus on Tuesday, 31st December 2024. I hope Tuesday is 31st. On the issue of bias, we are not satisfied that sufficient evidence has been provided to us by the applicants. Nevertheless, in order to maintain the integrity of the adjudicatory process and in line with the practice of this court in cases such as Republic versus High Court ex parte Adjua Company Limited, Auditor General Interested Party, 2019-2020 Supreme Court Law Report of Ghana, Adare, we hereby direct that the applications for mandamus that are extant shall be placed before a different High Court judge for hearing and determination. To conclude, by the conclusions reached in this decision, reliefs A1, A2, A4, and A5 endorsed on the applicant's motion paper are hereby granted, while reliefs A3 and A6 are refused. Reliefs B and C are hereby dismissed. Ordered accordingly.
So that was the Supreme Court's ruling on the NDC's application regarding the High Court ruling that allowed the EC to recollate the result for some 6 constituencies. Nsawam Adojiri and Fantiako North was part of the initial 6 that the NDC sent to court. However, at the end of the hearing on Friday, December 27th, the presiding judge, as you saw him, Justice Gabriel Palmer, said that the EC, the High Court judge, erred by not allowing or not giving hearing to the NDC's candidate in 4 of the constituencies, and he went ahead to explain why the Nsawam Adojiri constituency and Fantiako North has been set aside. They believe that the Supreme Court believed that the result in those 2 constituencies are valid and binding. However, the other 4 constituencies, Tema Central, Ablikman North, Techiman South, and Okakwe Central are the ones still under dispute. And today, the High Court is expected to hear the case and make adjudication on it, pass its ruling under a new judge. The trial judge that had the initial case of from the NPP has been changed. The Supreme Court order, the ruling of the Supreme Court says that the case that will be heard today should be done under a new judge. So it will be a new judge that will be presiding over today's hearing. We will keep our eyes on that. We'll keep tap on that to see what really will be the ruling of the High Court and what will be the consequence of that. We've engaged some legal luminaries, and they've explained that based on the circumstances, the High Court can actually hear the case today, the statement of case from both parties, the NPP, NDC, and the Electoral Commission themselves, because these are now the 3 parties in the case. The NPP is the plaintiff. The EC will be the first respondent, and the NDC, the 4 NDC parliamentary candidates plus the party will be the 3rd respondent, I believe so. So on that case, the High Court will make a ruling as to what should be the way forward. Now, some legal luminaries have explained that the High Court can go ahead, hear the case today, and pass it, and make it its ruling today, make a judgment, and make its declaration today, because of the exigency and the time that is elapsing for the Electoral Commission to finish up with all these 4 constituencies and submit the rightly elected parliamentary candidate for gazetting to join the 9th Parliament on January 7th. So it's a case that is expected to take to be very quickly, to be heard very quickly, and things are expected to be wrapped up just today. If not, perhaps tomorrow. Tomorrow is a holiday, so the courts do not sit on holiday. So perhaps if today the ruling doesn't come today, then it has to prolong to Thursday, which within Thursday the ruling can come. Then maybe Friday the EC will go ahead with whatever the declaration of the High Court is. If there's a rerun, the EC will have to conduct it over the weekend, or if there's recollation, the EC may do it on Friday or Saturday or any of the days. But by any means possible, the EC has to present the list of the elected candidates by end of January 6th for gazetting and all of that. But we will keep tap on that to see what really will transpire in the High Court today at the court complex. The Accra High Court is where this issue is going to head. And ABC News Ghana, like I mentioned, on our midday bulletin will bring you update from the court and what the ruling or the case and how the case is proceeded. And that's how much we end today on Politics Today, the penultimate edition of 2024 Politics Today. And I am glad to say that I've been your host for some of the segment of Politics Today, and I've enjoyed the show. I hope you have also enjoyed the Politics Today segment on ABC in the morning, and ABC in the morning as a whole. I've enjoyed ABC in the morning with Abna Mante sitting in with her bright face, smiley face all the time here to give you the accurate information, the very important discussions that we've had throughout this year, from election story to health to sanitations to security issues. We've brought you everything you needed to know in 2024. We hope that when we enter in 2025, we'll even do more to enlighten you and to make sure that we meet your viewer experience. So do stay tuned with ABC News Ghana as we cross over. Do so with some caution. Celebrate the crossover. If you have to go for a church service, anything that you need to do to meet your God, pray, to intercede for yourselves and your families, please kindly do so, but do so with caution. Those who are also going to the pubs to have fun and enjoy themselves throughout the midnight as we cross over, also do so with some caution, so that we all enter into 2025 healthier and stronger, because 2025 will be a better year. I firmly believe so. So do stay tuned with ABC News Ghana. Do not leave yet. We are not just ending yet. We'll open the phone lines for you. We want to hear that what your day today will look like. What is your plan for crossover? What is your plan for the 31st night, and how your Christmas festivities has been? For me, it has been very slow, but I hope it picks up from this night to tomorrow, when there's tomorrow is first, so it's a holiday. I hope that I go out there and have some fun. So do stay tuned with ABC News Ghana. Eric Chunibwa Melo will come and continue with you.
You're welcome back again to the program. It's still ABC in the morning, and it's now time to do some happy hour. But before we go into some of the issues this happy hour, we also would want you to call us. We told you we're going to open the phone lines again for you to also share what your Christmas festivities and what you'll be doing, whether 31st, or you also will have some conversations, I mean, in terms of partying, or you can't be bothered about the 31st period. We'd want to know about it. So call us on 053-9161-609, 053-9161-609. Please call us before we move straight to some of the highlights for 2024 during this festive season, the celebration. So call us again, 053-916-1609, 053-916-1609. Would appreciate that you call so we can know this is the last edition on the morning program for 2024. We told you that ABC will be bringing you more captivating and innovative content come 2025. But for the morning show, this is what time would allow for all the conversations that have happened from January till December. Today being 31st, we wrap up with the conversations on the morning program this particular day. And so call us. Maybe you can also let us some advice. Yeah, we know that sometimes we are at fault, but you, our viewers, we cherish you all the most. And so we'd want to appreciate your thought and comment. Any suggestions that perhaps we can also look at come 2025. Any innovative ideas that perhaps you can suggest so we can also look up for in coming 2025. We just want to hear from you so we can also serve you, our viewers, very well, so it becomes very much I mean, you enjoy the viewer experience at home when you're watching ABC. We're here to serve you, and so it is all about you that we are opening a phone lines just so we can have some ideas and we'll be able to speak on some issues. Again, call us on 0539-161-609, 0539-161-609. But still, on Happy Hour, there have been some activities still that have been going on during this festive season. Yesterday, I believe, also was King Promised Land, and we will be letting you watch some of the experiences that transpired yesterday. Very beautiful. I think King Promise for some time now really has been doing quite well. And then again, remember that the conversation about who wins Artist of the Year is around the corner. King Paluta has sparked a conversation about him being the potential winner for that coveted award. But we'll see how that will go. King Promise also has been taped for that award. Stone Boy also is in that particular conversation. I don't know about Shatawale, but has he done so much to deserve that award? I don't know. I don't want to be part of that conversation. But you can call us and let us know what you think about that. But for all the conversations that have happened, we are yet to summarize all of that, especially with some of the activities that happened yesterday. So if it's ready, probably we can watch some of the activities that transpire, especially with regard to the Promised Land concert. Let's take a listen. Perhaps when we're back, the calls will be up for you to also phone in. Let's take a listen.
You know I love you, but I'm always under the kind of you. And I know you want. And I gotta show that I know you don't wanna be me calm. I don't make my smile lose. I don't make my smile lose. I gotta show that I know you don't wanna be me calm. No one come and see for my head. Like you, my life. I'm feeling near deep. All the mother girls feeling me. Young daddy, no more. What's this? I didn't you where I think. Yeah. I want it. I didn't I want it. Say I still.
Listen to one call. It's King Brothers. I'm the lion to climb. That's right. Red kid in the right kind. See your promise, I used to be a good girl, but everything just changed. I feel. I'm in the ground, girl. Yeah. Last time when it was you had red come. It's King Brothers. Last time when it was you had red come. It's King Brothers. King Brothers. I say I don't stay out here to trust anybody. It's no show. And you're walking on you. See, so we just keep by. So make you do your best, use your sense. Show the stress and stop a girl flesh. I need one ways, we know the test. And Jack guys in the work, I think. So make you tell them. So we're coming on the piano. Everybody gets us. Okay, 1, 2, 3, let's go. You're me out. It's easy.
That was some excerpts from yesterday's Promised Land concert. Quite some very interesting visuals over there. Look at the crowd. That should tell you that indeed you all have been celebrating the Christmas in style. But that's all for the package this morning on a program on ABC in the morning. We do appreciate each and every one of you for always sticking and staying with ABC, especially when we began the morning show. You all have been very much supportive. You call us when we open the phone lines. You also give us your thought and comments. We appreciate every single feedback, the news team and the behind the scenes. Sometimes one day I think we'd have to let you guys know what goes on behind the scenes, that we are able to produce or come up with certain experience here on live set, so you can also appreciate what goes on behind the screen. But you, our viewers, we do appreciate you very much. Had it not been for you, we would not have a show to even serve you watching us, and so we do appreciate it. But we're promising you that next year 2025, which is just around the corner, it promises to be more insightful, innovative and very much conversational. That's when we also would want you to call us and also send it to text when we ask you to. The conversation would have to be balanced. So if you call, you have an opinion, you give to us, you have an information, would appreciate. So from all the team here at ABC News Ghana, we say we are glad that you stick and stayed with us. We appreciate you. We're very much thankful for management to the least person here on our platform. We say we are grateful. Come 2025, we promise to be very, very interested again on a morning program, on our bulletins from news and other programs. We say we're grateful for your time, and we hope that we've served you well this 2024. Come 2025 again, it promises to be insightful. Anyway, that's all for the package this morning. I am Eric Chinibwa-Mello, and again, join the news team. Probably we're going to have another segment, another session this afternoon of the bulletin. Again, we're promising to give you some live visuals in court today. You're reminded that Accra High Court is set to sit on the NDC's petition on the case, and we will be diving into that properly later today, also in the bulletin. And so you would want to stick and stay more with the TV channel, so we bring you more updates on that in terms of court. But that's all again for the bulletin. Oh, I said bulletin. That's all for the package this morning. I am Eric Chinibwa-Mello. Again, do want to catch us at 12 for another edition of the program. It has been a pleasure coming your way. Do enjoy your weekend, your day, and also enjoy your Christmas. Good morning.